If you're caring for a loved one with dementia, chances are that you've experienced some form of a challenging behavior. People with dementia from conditions such as Alzheimer's and related diseases have a progressive biological brain disorder that makes it harder and harder for them to communicate, think about things, remember things clearly, and remember where they put things, as well as how to take care of themselves. Dementia can cause mood swings and even change your person's personality and behavior. So, for the next few weeks, I'm going to be talking about some common dementia behaviors and how to help you, the caregiver, cope with these behaviors. Currently, I'm working with Sarah. We've been working together long term, and recently they had to take away her mom's keys because she had a small fender bender because she was driving on slippery road conditions. But this change in her mom's routine of being able to take her car out in the morning and go to her ladies group and then go to church on Wednesdays has caused a shift in her mom's behavior. Very specifically, her mom is experiencing some paranoia, which has then led to some false accusations. Like many caregivers, I'm sure that you can relate to some of the things that I've heard from my patients and their families. Do any of these sound familiar to you? You stole my wallet. You've taken all my money. You're keeping me prisoner here in my own home. You want to move me to your house because you don't want to spend my money. You just want it all to yourself. Or how about when you're trying to give pills and they're like, no way, I'm not taking that because you're poisoning me. Or what about accusations of infidelity or other inappropriate behavior that just aren't true? Or how about this one? This one seems to hurt people to their core. You hate me. You just want me to die. You don't love me. Those can be pretty hard to handle, but let me explain why this happens and share some ways that can calm the situation and help you deal with those dementia accusations. While I'm sure that you're doing the best that you can, and you should always allow yourself some grace, it can be hard to hear these things coming from your loved one when you're doing everything that you can for them. Sometimes even sacrificing your own needs, wants, and desires to fulfill theirs. But you have to remember that what they're saying is just words, that their brain is no longer functioning like it once did. And if you're caring for someone that was emotionally abusive to you as a child, you might find this an even more difficult situation because you were dealing with somebody that you're already kind of holding a grudge against and you're giving everything that you have. But you just have to remember that the brain in the person with dementia is slowly shrinking, and those higher levels of thought process and function are deteriorating. Your person can no longer process information like they once could. If something comes up missing, or if something isn't making sense to them anymore, their brain is going to process this information so much differently. And what used to make sense to them no longer makes sense now. In most cases, you will see that paranoia typically comes in the later stages of the disease, but I've seen it in all stages, particularly when there's a change in a person's routine. So, why do seniors with dementia make these false accusations? Well, their accusations probably sound crazy to you, but their situation is very real to them because their minds are trying to make sense of their world that's going on around them while their cognitive abilities are declining. People with dementia will often feel anxious or frustrated, or they feel this huge sense of loss, and they can't explain that. But those feelings, plus the memory loss and confusion, can easily lead to paranoia. And that's why so many seniors with dementia feel like people are stealing from them or mistreating them. When they can't find something that they've misplaced, their brain will lead them to believe that someone has stolen it as opposed to them misplacing it. When you prevent them from wandering or getting lost, they think that they're being kept held prisoner or that you're locking them down and taking away all of their rights. These dementia accusations can be extremely hurtful to hear, but it's important to remember these are not personal attacks against you. It's their brain trying to make sense of what's happening and creating an alternate version of reality to compensate for that. If you're seeing paranoia in your person, or suddenly your person becomes jealous, suspicious, accusatory, remember what the person is experiencing is super real to them. And it's best that you not argue or disagree, because this too is part of the dementia, and try not to take it personally. Now, I want to talk to you about my ground rules. Yes, I have some ground rules, and I want you to think about these over the next few weeks, and I'll repeat them so that we can remember them each week as we go on. So, first, we cannot change our person. The person you are caring for has a brain disorder that shapes who he or she has become now. If you remember the My Story template I talked about last year about who your person was, well, who your person was and who they are now both have an impact on the behaviors and experiences that you'll have as a caregiver today. When you try to control or you try to change your person's behavior, you'll most likely be unsuccessful or you'll be met with resistance. And so it's important to try to accommodate the behavior, not control it. For example, a person that insists on sleeping on the floor, let's say, if they want to sleep on the floor and you sit there and argue with them about why it's not good to sleep on the floor, their brain isn't processing what you're telling them. So maybe it's better just to put the mattress on the floor and make them more comfortable. Remember, you can change your behavior or the physical environment to help alleviate some of that paranoia. Changing our own behavior will often result in a change in our loved ones' behaviors. My second ground rule is to always check with your doctor or your nurse practitioner or PCP, because there can be some other organic causes of behavioral problems. There might be a medical reason. Perhaps your person is in pain or experiencing an adverse side effect from a new medication that was started, or maybe they have a urinary tract infection, or their incontinence is causing them to feel frustrated that they're wet, but they can't tell you that they're wet, so they start acting out in different ways. Sometimes hallucinations can play into this as well, and we'll talk about hallucinations later, but sometimes hallucinations can cause them to be paranoid. Always check with your doctor, your nurse practitioner, and make sure that there's not an organic cause to their newfound paranoia or false accusations. My third ground rule is that all behavior has a purpose. People with dementia typically cannot tell us what they want or what they need. They might do something like take all their clothes out of the closet on a daily basis and pack them up, or they might put on all of their clothes and then put a coat over it, dressed for inappropriate weather. Maybe in the summer, they're all bundled up and they're starting to head out the door. We're left there wondering why. Well, it's very likely that your person is fulfilling a need to be busy or productive. So you need to consider that your person might be trying to meet a need with their behavior. And when possible, for you, try to accommodate them, give them some reassurance. My fourth ground rule that I have found that all behavior is triggered. It's important to understand that most behaviors are triggered and it occurs for a reason. It might be something a person did, it might be a television show, it might be something that's happening outside, or it could be a change in the physical environment. You know, we just got done with the holidays, having all of family and the decorations and the different smells and different sounds in the house. These can cause a trigger that lead your person to have a behavior. But the route to changing the behavior is disrupting the pattern and creating something different and trying a different approach or trying a different consequence. So maybe moving your person into the calm room and the calm space. And if you don't have one of those set up yet, get that set up ASAP because your person may need to go there for a little bit. And lastly, I want you to remember that because dementia changes every day and sometimes minute by minute, what works today might not work tomorrow, might not even work in an hour. But the multiple factors that can influence behaviors, you need to have a couple different things in your pocket that you can use to deal with these behaviors because the solutions that work today might not work tomorrow. But the key to managing difficult behaviors is being creative and flexible in your strategies so that you can address each issue when it happens. So, after taking into account the ground rules, I want you to consider first, what are some of the specific things that you can do to help with paranoia and false accusations? First, I want you to not take it personally. Remember, your person is making these accusations because of their declining cognitive abilities. They're trying to make sense of their reality as best as they can. So you need to do the best that you can to stay calm and not take these accusations personally and focus on reassuring them and showing them that you care about how they're feeling. Secondly, don't argue or try to use logic to convince them that what they're thinking isn't true. It's important that you not argue or convince a person with dementia that they're wrong because you simply cannot win an argument with somebody whose brain is no longer processing logic properly. And arguing will only make them more upset and more insistent. Instead, let them express their ideas, their feelings, and their opinions because it will be easier to calm them down and distract them if they're feeling heard and validated. 3, stick to simple answers. Please don't respond to them with a big, lengthy answer that they're not going to understand. Like, no, I didn't steal your wallet because I have my own money. I have my own bank account. Just say, no, why don't we look for your wallet? Let's look to see where you've misplaced it. When you respond to their accusations, keep those responses short, simple, and sweet because long explanations or reasoning is going to overwhelm them and cause them more agitation and more confusion. If your confused person suspects that money is missing, maybe allow them to keep small amounts of money in a pocket or a handbag for them to easily find. Help them look for the missing object and try to distract them with other activities. Also, try to learn where they put these items. I know most people have a favorite hiding spot. It might be under their mattress or in a shoebox, or maybe even create them a safe spot to hide things like that shoebox and just put, safe on it or something so that they can put their things in there. This way, you know exactly where to look and you can find those lost items and avoid arguing. Take time to explain to other family members what your person is going through or any in-home helpers that your person is feeling suspicious and that they're having these false accusations and that it's a part of their illness so that they understand as well because they might not be able to deal with it quite like you are because they're not with them all the time. And lastly, respond to the feelings behind the accusation and just make sure that you're reassuring your person, you're safe. I see what frightens you. I'm going to stay here with you. I won't let anything happen to you. I think one of the most important things we can do is to seek support and advice from people who understand, because being accused of stealing or abusing your person or other terrible things can be devastating. And even if you're hiding exactly how you feel about this to avoid further upsetting your person or anybody else in your household, you are hurting yourself by doing this. So, in order to help you cope, you might consider joining a caregiver support group, either in person or online. We have a great support group over at Dementia Caregivers Academy Community. I will drop it in the chat below so that if you want to check that out, you can and you can join because I bet you'll be surprised and relieved to learn that there are so many other people who've been accused of similar situations It truly helps to know that you're not alone and you're not the only one that this is happening to. So join a support group, help yourself out. And lastly, before I go, if you're not documenting your person's behaviors, you need to be. If you've ever worked with me, or if you're one of the countless numbers of families that I have worked with, you know that there is nothing more important to me than documenting these behaviors. If you didn't document them, there's no way you're going to remember when they happened, how they happened, what might have been the trigger, or what you did that got your person through that situation. If you haven't went over to dementiacaregiversacademy.com, there is a resource page there. There is a behavior tracking log. I want you to go there now. I want you to download it. It's 100% free. And you start documenting those behaviors so that when you go to your doctor's office, you can take this with you so that you can remember exactly when the behaviors happened, exactly what time and what worked, so that you can take that with you so that your doctor can have good insight about whether we need to continue to try non-pharmacological interventions, or are there other things that we can be doing that will help your person stop the behavior and how to get them back on track with experiencing less paranoia, less false accusations. If you have ever dealt with paranoia or false accusations, drop it in the comments below. I would love to see what worked for you. Join me next week when we talk about sundowning and things that you can do to help mitigate sundowning and sundowning behaviors. Take care. See you next week.